Hello. Greetings. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello. I haven't done that intro for a while. How are we all doing? How's everyone going? It's been a very busy trying to keep on top of everything past few days. But we're going to have a Fans Friday is here. It's here again. We're here and we're going to be doing it for the next 3 weeks. We've got people lined up. My guest that I have wanted to put on from the very beginning of doing this podcast is finally coming on today. But before I introduce him, I just got to keep a little bit of housekeeping just before we go. If you're watching on YouTube, down below in the description is all of the social media pages that you guys can go and follow us on. We've been getting going up and up and up, so it's going really well at the moment. Don't forget, if you're on YouTube as well, go and subscribe. We try and do at least 2 videos of the podcast a week for you. If you're on Podbean, please go and download it and go and subscribe to the channel on the Apple Music as well. We also dropped a new logo for the podcast, which was released yesterday. We've got new graphics coming up as well for the podcast as well. So as you can probably tell, I've had too much time on my hands. That's why there's a lot more. We're doing a lot more different stuff. But let's get into it, shall we? Ryan's not here today. He is off. He's got work. He was running late for his job anyway. He was going to try and do a call-in, but he rung me going, I'm an hour late. So, and while he was panicking, I was laughing at him. So, I'm a horrible person. But we are here today with the man that I don't even think you need an introduction. I think we've got to call him the Legend of Reading that lives in Ireland. I think that's what we have to gonna call you. But welcome, Johnny. Thank you ever so much for coming on. This is the earliest I've ever recorded a podcast. I am still so tired. I'm so tired. But thank you. So, how are you?
Good, mate. Good. Yeah. Rural Ireland, COVID, rain, same, no football. Just going a day at a time. I'm off work, been working loads, so got a bit of a break, which is nice. So nice to have never done a podcast, Gobcast as you call it. So to be different, and hopefully if it helps again, like I was on a stuck record, but if it helps somebody talk about their mental health stuff, that's job done. Again, it helps one person. We're all different, so it's about making that change. Anyway, there's loads of football stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly, and we're going to be talking about all of the shenanigans. Let's put that in the slightest way of what's been going on the past few days at Reading. We're recording this on the Thursday morning, so if anything happens in Thursday afternoon, evening, or Friday, we can't do anything. I'm looking at my phone. I have Twitter ready to go on my phone. I'm hoping they do an early morning announcement and we can have a fresh review. I doubt that because it's ready.
I'll let you do that, mate, because if I look at my phone, I'll get distracted.
No, that's absolutely fine. So let's talk about yourself a little bit. So how long have you lived in Ireland all of your life? How long have you been living out there for?
Mate. I'm a bit of a travelling man. I think I'm in Ireland now. Where are we? I came back. I moved to Ireland. I'll tell you what, Reading got in the Premier League 8 years ago.
All right.
When I was on holiday over here from Australia. Went to the Forest game, went to the Palace game afterwards, was in the walkabout in Reading celebrating after Southampton drew at Middlesbrough or wherever it was and we got promoted. Went back to Oz, thought obviously, that's it now. Well, that was a move after living in Australia for 10 years, come back to Ireland to see Reading, do well in the Premier League, and the rest is history. So I've been here 8 years, and then Oz was 10 years before that, and then I was born in Reading many moons ago, long before you were born. So back in the 72. There you go. So I'm nearly 50 not out, and then did life. I've lived in Reading until I was about 5, and then travelled. God, geez, man, and everywhere, anywhere and everywhere. But always watched and followed Reading. Obviously, physically not been able to go until as a poor student nurse I couldn't afford it, and but then I think it sort of really started going regularly mid 90s was the kind of when I could afford it, and travelling back and forth from games from Oz and here. It's not. So I think people might know me or know it's not just about football. It's about the people. It's about an identity. I think, you know, for me, obviously, I identify with Reading. You know, living over here is not home for me, but it's my partner and our two little people. One's born in Oz and one's born here. So I've got the opportunity for when they're rich and famous to play for England, Australia, or Ireland, whoever offers the most money. Really, I'm not fussed. But yeah, so I kind of, you know, and especially I think more so at the minute over the summer with all the COVID stuff, which has been, you know, here we haven't probably been as impacted as badly as over there, because, you know, we live in a place called Wicklow, which is very, you know, it is rural, and you can, you know, go about your business and keep yourself well. Obviously, as a nurse working, it's a different challenge, but that, you know, that's where we're at the minute. And I think, you know, from my kind of thing I've learned, you know, to deal with my own mental health and my own anxiety and different things, is to go day by day. I think if you live too far ahead with all of this going on, because it's a shift in sand, you just go day by day and live what's in front of you, and that's all you can control is what's happening now, and it just keeps my head well and keeps my family and my life, and with work as well. You know, there's so many things, you get so many different rules coming in, and you could get so overwhelmed, and I know people have been overwhelmed by all of this. So, you know, that's, you know, and the football for me, I mean, my football's always been my escape from life, even how badly Reading perform, to get over to Reading, to catch up with a lot of people that I know and see, good friends have made. Friend Rob, who's been going with us for years, and then other people that I've met along the journey of being a Reading fan, and that's, you know, that's what it's about. It's about the people. It's you know, it is about the game, but it's also about, you know, for me, it's meeting up with folks for a few beers, and yeah, and then, you know, coming back, and, you know, I've met people over here, like Wicklow's fan base of Reading fans is, geez, we're up to at least 6 now. It's huge. And obviously, you know, Paul McShane, the ex-captain, he was born just up the road from here. So yeah, there's a bit of an identity here, and obviously all the history of Ireland players at Reading as well. Obviously going back to the good old days with Doyle and Long, and then my unknown brothers, the Hunt brothers, Stephen and Noel, you know, and all those connections. And then you have the connections, you know, for me as in Australia, like, you know, Federici, you know, is a top lad and a decent keeper, and now he's gone back over there, and Adam Lafond has gone over to Sydney and is doing very well. So it's, you know, Sydney FC was a big part of, you know, my identity, and still is as well. I love the football over there. I remember, I think I was watching the A-League when it first started, and Dwight York was playing with a hangover in midfield and still 10 times better than anyone else. And then I think it was Grant Brebner was playing Melbourne Victory at the time. He's now then acting manager. Steve Mortone, an ex-Royal, was there. You know, so it's there's a few more as well. My memory can, you know, fail me, but you know, that you know, watching the whole Reading connection around the world, and, you know, and obviously through social media now. Social media has its good points. There's a lot of good stuff, especially in the mental health world, around support and reaching out to people that, you know, especially now people are isolated more than ever. You know, and using it as a positive platform, but also the downside is, you know, there is the negativity stuff where people, you know, personal attacks and people using, you know, to stigmatize people and to harass people, and it's not pleasant. It's not needed, and especially I think as, you know, as football fans, like Reading fans, you know, geez, you know, we know what we are. We seem to be in everyone else's heads. I see on social media, everyone seems to have a pop at us. Even about that song's come out again that was done a
best song
few
ever.
years ago.
Best song ever.
And it's in their heads. And they have to, but, you know, for Reading fans, like, we're all different. We're all got our own stories. We've all got our own history. But get the personal stuff out of what we do, and try and be kind. At the minute, I think even more so than ever, it's about being kind and looking out for each other, because we don't know what people are going through. You don't know what people's stories are. And it's very easy for, you know, for the keyboard warriors to sit there and have a pop and have a go. When, you know, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people trying to do good. And I think, you know, and I've done it in the past. I've had a go at people years ago, and, you know, you get into fights about, you know, football and players and then you kind of go, when you kind of realise, oh, actually they're human beings, and we're all human beings. Just stop it. Just stop being, and sometimes it's because of stuff that's going on in our own lives, maybe, that we take it out on other people. But it's not, maybe I'm just getting old and growing up eventually at 48. But yeah, that's what I kind of, try and live by now. It's what it is. For me, the whole mental health stuff, I guess when, I've gone through, my own history of things, which, obviously I'm happy to ever talk about, when I was a kid, bullying, and then, having a kind of a breakdown as a student nurse, which ended up as a triggered an eating disorder. And then from then, as the age of 21, as a male, and then especially going into nursing, that is huge. And at that time, I saw a documentary the other day, last Beverly Allett, who was a nurse who killed 3 children. So you had all this stigma, a big stigma back in the early 90s, that you carry around going through a nursing career.
So let's talk about that. Then we'll carry on with everything else as well. Is what sort of got you into becoming a nurse? I know from what you hear is nurse is not for men; it's for women. It's not a man's job. Men don't. And this is what when I was at school. This is what you got told when I was younger. I presume it's probably even worse today, with how perception of social media. So, what sort of made you want to get into that? What made you want to become a nurse and actually help people?
I think one, I couldn't do anything else. my football career ended as a youngster. I was training with Yeovil Town, who in those days, back in the 80s, were a very good non-league side. We actually had Alan Pardew playing for the first team then, John McGinley, who came back to haunt us in later days, and a lot of top footballers, obviously from Bristol City being a local club. A guy called Jerry Gow, who played for Man City in the 81 FA Cup final, who also became a manager at Yeovil. But they were huge. But I played in goal, and this is I wasn't actually a decent keeper. I actually not bad. Look at the state of these fingers. That's from cricket as well. But there was one game when Hewish in the old days the Hewish ground was brilliant because it was a slope. There was a massive slope, and we used to destroy all league sides in the FA Cup and had a big history. But one game I played against a kind of first team players, and I was in goal. I was 16. Goalkeepers in those days, you can get away with being small and not being able to actually kick a ball from a back pass because I couldn't do that. And that's the end of my football career. But then I think I let 4 goals in about 15 minutes because the goals were a lot bigger than I used to. And John McGinley said, "Yeah, here you are, wee man," in his Scottish accent, "I'll take the gloves for you." And he took over in goal from me. And that kind of was a hint, really, that maybe my football career is not going to go the way it wanted. I bombed around through school. Cricket as well was a big thing. And then when I was in Australia when I was 18, did my working holiday stuff. Still didn't know what I wanted to do, and I came back, and I saw an advert in some Sunday magazine, Daily Mail or something, to be about nursing. And in those days, different world, very much now. This is the late 80s, early 90s, where qualifications weren't as big. I got 2 GCSEs at school and did 2 more at college, and got 4 in total. But those days, I could get to be nursing because in those days, it was very much about how you are with people. Nowadays, I work with student nurses. They're doing degrees, they're doing whatever, and they're having to work at weekends. And talking about people like yourself and I who've got children, families. It's disgusting. The whole thing. I would not be a nurse now. I would not train to be a nurse now because the incentives are woeful. Over here, even more so than the UK. But in those days, I went into it basically because I think there's some family stuff that makes you a good carer, and that's what I was good at, looking after people. In hindsight, looking back, probably geez, it must be maths. Like I started in 1991, where I now, geez, that's 30 years ago. I say to people now, like I wish maybe I didn't do nursing, because when you're like myself as a person, it takes a lot out of you. What you've got that's in that it, you do it very well. Like now, you get people, you don't get people. It's a very simple logic, and I've worked in, I work as a nurse for, well, at the minute I'm working with children with intellectual disabilities in a respite setting. And I've worked in different, it's given me the opportunity to work around the world. A lot of it has been working in management and to be able to make a change. And to me, it's about making a difference. When I started out, I worked at a place called Leaston Hospital near Watford, which they actually used the outside of the building as the start of the programme Porridge. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And the garden scenes from Porridge were at that hospital. It was a big Victorian institute, and apparently, allegedly, don't quote me, I hope you don't get sued for this, but apparently Jack the Ripper was buried there as well. It's one of the rumours. And it was, a big old institute. It was a big rats running down the corridors, and that's where I guess a big part of my mental health journey started, where I got glandular fever. And then that triggered me going into, a breakdown or whatever. In those days, you just living in the moment, living what you were doing. Now, obviously, with hindsight, you can look back at it. But at that time, I had to give up my nursing training and move back home, because I was pretty much on the brink of going into psych hospital because of what I was doing. And it was all about at that time, everyone's story is different and don't want to trigger other people, but at that time in my life, it was about control, and I took control of an eating thing, because things when you were being bullied as a teenager and family stuff, which I don't respect my family.
No, we don't expect you to go into that at all.
But basically what it does, I took control of that part of my life, where I was living literally on a can of baked beans every day. Most ridiculous, but not when you're in that headspace. It's not ridiculous, because you're living in a moment, and people that are going through journeys themselves, everyone has different reasons why. But when you're doing it, you're fighting this thing, and that's in your head, and it's controlling you. And look, it impacted on my life, and it still does now. It's there. It's like on your shoulder. But when you take the control back, and it's never easy. But at that time, but a part of it, I got back into my nurse. I restarted the nursing training, got into nursing, and then from there, I think when you've been bad in a dark place yourself, you get what it's like to be in a dark place for anyone else. It may not be the same issue, it may not be related, but you get what it's like to be there, and that's always been my thing through nursing or this. But then moving on to 4 or 5 years ago, there was a point where in nursing, I'd be very afraid to talk about or to disclose any of that. From like 2007, I got diagnosed with bipolar, even though I kind of knew that I kind of was, but I wasn't. But then, things happen. It's still there as a nurse. Going back to that original conversation we had about being a male nurse and all those different things, those still, like when I came to Ireland in 2012, what it was, I stopped taking my medication because I was scared when I came over from medical that would be held against me and would stop me getting the job that I was going for here to move my family back. And those stigma and those things still exist. And that's where now, when you've had to hide those things because of fear and isolation and all the different words that you want to use, now, 3 or 4 years ago, when I got involved with Lee Adams and the walk and talk men's mental health stuff, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but I went, and there was a point in my life where I actually don't give a monkeys about my nursing anymore. People can stop it tomorrow, and I go, I'm done, because I've done so much in that career of nursing to help other people, to help the families and the individual. I love working with the individuals, and I love working with the families and making a difference and battering down the doors where people are being treated differently because of their disability or are not getting the same opportunities. And I will fight and I would advocate on behalf of anyone and everyone, I still do now, to make that difference, because, you know, especially now, like through this whole COVID thing, you know, families are really struggling because of the impact on this, you know, young people with disabilities. So using all of that, then, you know, a few years ago, I actually went, well, if it ends, it ends. I've done my job.
Yeah.
I'll speak out. No, I don't enjoy nursing as much as I did. You know, it's so much red tape, so much bureaucracy. So now I went into the kind of the whole talk around mental health. It's like, well, that's me. I'm more comfortable in my skin. I'll say it as it is, and hopefully, whatever I do helps one person get support. That's what I've always done as a nurse. Is if what I do helps one person, it helps one person. But now it's a different agenda, I guess, where, you know, from different stuff, and you know, you cop stick for doing what you do, and you know, sometimes people.
So so let's talk a little bit about what's been going on. We're definitely going to get involved in mental health because I've been through it. And I don't think I've ever nearly cried as much as I just have in the past 5 minutes ever in my life. Just listen to your story. It inspires me. And I think your story is absolutely brilliant. So because of COVID and because of the situation that's going on at the moment, how have you found, because we try and ask this for everyone, and how they've been getting on during COVID. So for you, I presume you've had to work during when everyone's been locked down. I presume, I don't know whether you've been at home, but so how's COVID impacted you, either by your mental standpoint and by your work and everything else as well?
I've been working through literally the whole thing. I've had the second little one, Needy Rose, was born in January, and since then, you know, I work 3 long days a week. So my job is 3 30-hour shifts. And as a, you know, where I work, you know, it's a respite service, but because of all the COVID stuff, like, it's been difficult. We can't have the turnover of people coming through because of the whole, you know, the impact of numbers. So we've had more of a very much restricted service, but we've been providing a service through, and I've been working through all of that as a team of people, a very good group of people. That, you know, it's been hard, especially at the start. Obviously, you know, we don't have the population that you have in the UK. We don't have the bigger cities. You know, Dublin's obviously the bigger, and Cork would be. But the you know, at the start, very much, I think everyone was kind of not sure. The anxiety of everyone about what was going to happen. You know, how quickly. I mean, you know, we all are, I think, at the time. But then, you know, because you know, for myself, I was actually quite glad to be working because I love routine. I love having things in place. And, you know, the one thing I did miss more than the pub was the gym. The gym has always been my go-to thing for my mental health for years. It's what gets me ticking off every day. It kickstarts my head. It gets me working. So I missed that. So I'd replace that by going for a walk around Wicklow, which is about an 8-kilometre loop every morning, early morning, just because I know I needed to replace with something else. Yeah. But then, you know, obviously I had, you know, a little baby to keep me busy.
and they do.
Yeah. So I had those things, and, you know, we you know, making sure that, you know, the priority was the little people. You know, that's our priority, making sure they're well, and you know, and just living in. It is, like I said earlier, it's living in the moment. Really, you know, you can get so carried away thinking what's going to happen when you do this and what's going to happen. You fill your head up with so much things that aren't actually real or going to happen. You're assuming, and so I had to treat my head as in, you can't control that. Same with work. I couldn't control what was going on outside of that bubble. That's what we were living in, the home bubble. But living here in Ireland, where we are, you could go out for walks. You're not on massive people. You haven't got a crowd of people. You know, you can cross the road. You can keep separate. You can keep safe. So I was very blessed and very lucky that we had that, because it was easier. You know, the downside of that is, you know, my partner's family's here in Ireland. My mum and brothers are over in England, so they haven't had the chance to see the little lady yet, which is hard. That's hard, but that's not as hard as what a hell of a lot of people are going through, you know, in comparison. So, you know, I look at it, just stay humble and blessed that I've got what I've got. And, you know, again, it's helping, you know, work-wise, helping people and being able to do that. And then finally last week, I finished. I'm off for 2 weeks leave because it's hard to take leave because of, you know, having restricted staff. So, you know, I'm now off for a couple of weeks, and obviously got the lovely Irish summer where it's pouring with rain, consistent. You know, that's, you know, it's still not at the end. It's not like, and I think people's mentality here, certainly the government here and probably over there as well, which Boris and his mates, this whole kind of, oh, we've done hard yards, and it's not like we're going to get a second wave. My little one's going to school next week. There's still so much happening, but it's tomorrow, next week. It's like I can't do anything about that today. It's like today is another day. You know, and that's.
Yeah, and I think with everyone sort of feeling the same exact way, I think it's and now I want to get into mental health properly. The reason why I want to get into this is because I went through it. I had severe anxiety. I had my anger problems when I had a little bit before, but it was never bad, and it got to a point where I was awful. So the majority of the story behind it is I call it my dad. I call him sperm donor because he actually hasn't done anything for me. He sort of lied throughout the entirety of my life. And I can still picture it to this day. There was a photo in his car when he used to come down every other Saturday to come take me out to go and watch Reading, or we'll go bowling, or we'll go and do something. And there was a photo in his car with 2 kids. And I asked him for 6 months, who are those kids? Because I said, oh, they're your cousins. And then he turned around to me one day and said, no, they're your actual brother and sister. He would lie all the time. We then got rid of him because he was just being negative all the time. He left. Then he started going and get other people involved to try and help, which then never helped my mum. And then my mum was always fighting my corner the whole of the way of life. So it got to a point when I was at school and I was getting bullied because I was fat. I'm still fat. I've gone to a point I don't care now. But I was fat. Yeah, and people didn't like the way I was or how I spoke because I was very outspoken. I said what I wanted to say. I wasn't shy behind what I wanted. But I was I didn't like confrontation. I hated fighting and everything like that. And then I was getting bullied all the time. And then I would never tell my mum about it because she was having 1,000,001 things going on.
Yeah.
And then it come to a point where I was working with my partners now, my fiance now, Dad. We were at a pub and I got ill I got a cold. I think I got a man flu, and then needed someone to come and cover my shift, and no one would cover. And I think it broke me to a point where I did everything for everyone at that time, but no one was helping me. And I went, right, I've had enough. So I left, and then I went home. Me and my partner, and we were really badly struggling for money. My daughter wasn't born then. We were really struggling for money. I would give up stuff so she could have food because she was working and I was out of work. I would just sit at home all day, stewing in my own self-pity. And it got to a point where one day I woke up and I couldn't leave the bedroom. And I thought it was just, I never knew that I was ill until there was a situation going on with our family that resulted in Mum not being around at the time, and my little brother was coming to live with me and my partner in a 1-bedroom house. He was living on the sofa, we were upstairs, and it got to a point where one day she come over and I snapped. I don't remember. For me, when I was going through my anxiety and going through my illness, was when angry, I went black. I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I went black and then woke up, me crawled in a ball on the top of the stairs crying for help. There was doors, I smashed doors, smashed walls where I put my fist through it. And I sat in a ball on the top of the stairs and I cried. And I said, I think I need help.
Yeah.
And people always say this, and I never believed it, is people always say, you never take people to go and, unless they admit that they need the help themselves. People kept telling me there was something wrong with me. I'm going, no, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. I'm just having a bit of a wallowy Seth pack. There's nothing wrong with me.
Typical attitude, isn't it?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't talk to anyone. I'm not talking to anyone. I'm absolutely fine. Until I crawled up in the ball at the top of the stairs and cried, and my partner said, I'm pregnant now. And a couple of days before, we found out she was pregnant with my daughter. And she goes, we're having a baby. You can't be like this. You need help. And she sat with me, and I was horrible to her. I mean, horrible. Verbal, and I will admit this, and people could come at me and say what they want. But verbal, I was nasty towards her. And when I went to my first meeting, it was at Bracknell Hospital. Is it Bracknell? I think it was Bracknell. Bracknell Hospital. No, Bracknell? Wokenham. I remember it at one point. Wokenham Hospital. I sat down with the person that was there, and she goes, so let's talk about it. And I said, when I finish this meeting, at the end, by Christmas, I'm going to propose to my partner. And I said, because she was the one that stuck with me, helped me, talked to me, put up with my, and I can swear on this, so it's fine, my shit, when I was being horrible. And I can't ever remember the doctor's name, but she did something to me that she listened and sat there and went, and I went, well, I'm not meant to be doing this. I'm a man. Men don't do this. Men just bollow up in a ball, punch a wall, and then we're fine. But she taught me, and I do this today. When I get to a point if I feel anxious or if I feel something, whatever's blocking me from doing that, there's something that's stuck in that I've bottled up that I need to get out. I need to release. So now you could probably tell if you listen to the podcast, I just say how I feel. Maybe to my detriment, probably. But I say how I feel. I try and do it, and I try and get it. I've never openly spoke about this before, so this is the first time everyone's hearing this as well. But I saw this thing that you did, and this is mainly, not the main, because I think you're absolutely brilliant and one of the nicest people I think I've ever come across in my entire life. And all the stuff we talk about Reading is you did at the walk. I think it was from Medeski to Fulham, if I'm right, or the other way around, for the Mind charity. So I want you to sort of explain yourself about how that come across, your work in mental health. Just
first of all, Mark, I think, honestly, mate, you know what you've done there, and you've shared your story. That's what it's about. About people like you and me that I've never met you. I've never met. And there's other people. You know, again, you know, like it isn't. It's not a fun story yet, and you've been honest about how you were, and you know, I've struggled with different things as well, and but there's a point where, like you say, you hit rock bottom, and you know you hit a few rock bottoms at different times, and you go, you know, it is only you that can fix it. It is only you that can do it. Yeah, but what you need is your team, and I'm lucky I've got my team, you know, my partner, my family that support, and you have. And what, you know, for me as a person now, you know, looking back on, you know, how close you get to, you know, where things get very dark and you know, but it's still not easy now. I think the message I would say, you know, just because, you know, you talk about it or we're here now, it doesn't make it easier, but the problem shared is a problem halved. And, you know, you saying, and you being open about your struggles, me being open, if it opens up a conversation, now people may think of you, what they think of you and what think of me as people, but that's fine. But if it gets people talking around mental health and starts a conversation, you know, that's always ever been my thing, you know, the last since I got involved. Initially, I've always been about mental health. I was a strong believer about it because it is so important. The suicide rates are so high, and it is the biggest killer in men under 45. I've got 50 now. 1 in 4 people have mental health problems. These are facts that were true before this virus started. I dare to think what the numbers have been. I've seen glimpses of it on social media and in the news about the numbers, but I think that for me, when you've been, I was speaking to a friend, Dean, who's an ex-footballer who went on one of the walks. It's like when you've been through dark stuff in your life, this isn't as tough. It's still very difficult, but for people that have never been through difficult, all of a sudden you have everything ripped away from you. You can't work, you can't see your friends, you can't go to the pub, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's a real challenge that some people have never faced, and it's a scary one. And I think that's where I for myself, through the last few months, I try to be positive. I try to give people some positivity because we need it. There's so much doom and gloom, there's so much negativity at the minute that we need to change the story. And when going back to, I think the first walk was just over 3 years ago, where Lee and the Fulham fans walked to Majewski and challenged us to do a walk back. At the same time, I think they gave us Sonia Luku. So, I'm not sure what the... so I took that on. I was like, well, Reading's my club, my identity. Let's do something different. And Lee, he's a lovely guy who's, he's had his own struggles. He's a massive football fan. He's a massive Fulham fan. He's been doing this for a few years with the Walk and Talk men's mental health movement. He got it off his own back. I joined in for that walk, and I think that 3 years ago, when we did that, myself and Martin Sims, who's a Reading fan, joined with Lee. There was the 3 of us that did that first walk back in April of 2018, I think it was, when we lost 1-0 up there. And there's, the support on social media and in the papers and everything else was brilliant. There was a lot of effort to get support from the media. The guys at Reading, Jonathan, Lowe and Courtney, Friday, were brilliant. And the club has been brilliant. But there was only 3 people doing the walk. Moving on to, we did the walk in, wherever I was, October of last year, the walk back from Fulham to Reading, which we had about a dozen people, I think, involved. And then we did the one on New Year's Eve overnight, where the most bizarre New Year's celebrations on a roundabout. We had, again, a large group doing the walk, male and female. But I think the biggest thing for me and Lee, and you'd say it himself, you'd say it, the amount of young people that were on those walks, 18-year-old lads, and the young, Charlie and Joel and Jamie, Matthew, so many different people. But to see people at that age wanting to do something like that and to make a difference is amazing. And that's what it's always been, I think, for myself. It's about making a difference, making a conversation, getting people to talk about mental health as a starter, and making it normal conversation, as you would about your own physical health. What's the difference? Nothing. I've got depression. People get awkward. People don't know what to say, so they don't say anything. Or you have, if you were saying you had a physical health problem, people would be giving you the support and would be there for you. And it's making that normal conversation. So when where the football it unites people as a sport, and for fans of opposite clubs to walk together. Reading and Fulham, we've got that link now with Lee, and it was so nice for it to be identified as something positive, where we're the last game when we won 2-1, and then the rest of the season went downhill. But we did we got there's a walk around the pitch at half time. It was nice. It's nice to be appreciated. I think people think sometimes it's about me and it's not. It is. I have to make the effort to push things out there to get people talking, and and it is tagging people on social media to get the story out there, because if it hits the right person and they've got an audience of 40,000, whatever, it's 40,000 people that have got an idea of a story or something, and then there's people I know, and you've touched on it yourself, where it's helped them. What we've done, it helped someone get the help. So again, we walking through, of the lasses walking, it's 17 hours, and it's a struggle. It's a long, 70 kilometers through the night. It's just an indication of what it's like to struggle with your mental health, because you haven't had sleep. You're walking sometimes in miserable weather through dark areas. It symbolizes what it's like, because people, nighttime is a big struggle for a lot of people, where they're alone, they're isolated. Those walks show that, and I think that's where to get from 3 people to 12 people, to have the whole impact, where even on the bigger media platforms, Andy Hall is the Sun, he's a Reading fan, he put a bit out there about that. It gets people talking about mental health, and that's like what my thing has been, like to make that conversation an everyday conversation. And I'm very sensitive, and I'll be very mindful of other people and offending anyone. But I don't worry what people think of me. If they think I'm doing it for them, I don't. I'm doing it to help. I've always done everything to help. If anyone actually knows me, that's what my thing is. I try to help people the best I can by whatever I've got. So by that amongst the Reading fans, identified now as doing a lot of good for mental health awareness as a team, as a club. And I think during the COVID stuff, I think Liam Moore rang loads of fans, and actually Paul McShane rang me while I was working, and I was like, this is a bit weird. Like, right, it's Paul McShane. I was like, it was nice. I don't know who organised it, because he hasn't got my number, but he knows, knows of me from the walk stuff, and he's also captain when my little one was mascot a few years ago. But that was nice. It was nice. Yeah. It meant a lot. But if those, footballers can talk more, and I've interviewed quite a lot of ex-players for the Tireless and well back, that have gone through their own issues, and coming out the other side. And I think, we need to be the difference as people and have those conversations around mental health that are challenging and aren't always positive in some places, but they're conversations. And so, with that walk and talk, I'm itching to go walking and doing another walk. Obviously, it's the minute you can't, but next season, I'm hoping, all being well and good, even if I can't go to the game, that we can develop. I think we're looking at Reading to Wickham. That would be a good one next spring. I think, hopefully being well, touched wood, fingers crossed, that could be happening. Fulham will get relegated again like they did last time, so we'll do a walk again the following season. But I think linking to Brentford there, and over here, the League of Ireland started up again, and I've got, hopefully, we'll be doing a couple of League of Ireland clubs. Bray, which is the nearest club to me, to Cabinteely, which it's not a long walk, but it's it's about creating a story, about making an impact. I'm now, there's a Green Ribbon mental health awareness group here now. I'm an ambassador for, which is great for me, because it helps get my story, if that's a story, that what is just life, to other people, to help, especially men. And it is men, but also for women and anyone to say, look, we're here, we're in it together, we're all in it together. And for a person like myself at 48, if I can help somebody who's younger with all the pitfalls that they have to go through, and show and help and guide and be a role model. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect wrong, but a role model of a person, a normal person that's been there and got it, and help them through whatever issue. We can do that, and we can become positive, and we can help that next generation. When you're a youngster, certainly when I was younger, the pressures now, bullying, like you touched on, bullying was in the playground when I was a kid. I got bullied because of my weight. Now it's on this thing, it's on a computer, it's behind a laptop, it's people who've got no, identity, you don't know who it is.
Yeah.
Kids in classes, it's on their phones, it's never ending. At least I think you're the same. When I was a teen, I could go home. I could go home after school and I could hide at home.
Yep.
Now there's no hiding place, and it's relentless. So I think, to make whatever we can do is like, I'm here to listen. I am here to listen. I say it online. I don't, for me, it helps me because I'm quite isolated over here. I don't have a huge circle of people I know, apart from these 6 fellow Reading fans. So it's about reaching out and about looking out for each other and just being there. And if we can do some good, and it's just making a difference by asking, are you okay? 3 words, it's not rocket science. And I think that's, if any whoever's watching this just checks in on someone after this.
Yeah, exactly. And what we want you guys to do is, I know we've gone on about, and we are about to get on Reading, so don't worry. Yeah. But what I want to do is while you were talking, I was looking at statistics as well. And in the UK, there were 6,507 deaths by suicide. That's a rate of 11.2 deaths per 100,000 people. And it is the highest rate in 2018 in Northern Ireland, as there was 18.6 deaths per 100,000, followed by Scotland, Wales, and then England. But overall, men are accounted for 3/4 of the UK's death by suicide in 2018. So we all know someone that's either gone through it. You may not know that they are going through it now, but even if you just say, are you okay? And what we're going to be doing on this podcast from now on is, everyone that listened to the Tuesday one for you guys, we'll record it on Monday, is me and Ryan with whoever will be on, like we had with Johnny today, is we're just going to go to them, how are you? How are you doing? And we're just going to ask them. That's what we will be doing on the podcast. On my Twitter DMs on the Gobcast and my personal Twitter DMs are open. Please, if there is any issues you want to talk about, please come along to us and talk to us. Please explain if there's anything if you just want me to come on like a call like this, but I don't record it, and you just talk to me about your issues, please. I am happy to do that as well, probably as well with Johnny as well. We are all happy just to sit down with you, talk to you, help you, even if you just want us to listen. That's what we're here for, and that's what we're definitely going to be trying to do. So, Reading.
I'll say one thing there, Mark. Sorry, we'll go. Just as well, and if you don't want to talk to me or you, that's fine. But talk to someone.
Exactly. Talk to anyone.
There's people out there that will listen, and it is a bit hit and miss. Sometimes you might not find the person that you gel with, from a counselling or support point of view. But just ask, anyone, just say I need help. There's all the support group. There's Mind, there's Samaritans, there's all the different mental health support over there, as there is in Ireland. Just don't be afraid to use them. And that's all it is. And look, we got onto the footy now.
If you go on, and if you go onto our Gobcast Twitter page, if you scroll down, there is a thread that we have made through all of different kinds of people, through the Mind Charity website, that we've copied and pasted the numbers that they've got for certain charities, certain individuals, certain people. There might be certain things that you don't want to talk to some person about, but there's a charity on there that is specialised in what you're looking for. So there's all kinds of different things on there. So please go and check that out. I'll try and get a link down below in the description to that thread. So you guys will be able to see that and go on there and have a look, retweet, as well as if you guys can share this podcast as well, or take a clip and put it about what you guys would like. What could just put it about, so other people can see that everyone's going through it. I will definitely be clipping bits of this and posting it in the next couple of days, just so we can get it out there. So, Reading, let's get on with the good old Reading, shall we?
What's the first news?
Let's talk about this current season and what's been going on. So, what was your sort of thought about what's happened since the start? We started off with Gomez, we ended with Bowen, and we're starting off again with maybe Bowen, maybe a Serbian, maybe England. To be honest, we ain't even got a blooming clue what's going on. We might know when you guys have watched this, but when we record this, we haven't got a clue. So we'll go through that. We'll go. So what got you into Reading, and two, what do you think about the current? What happened last season?
Yeah, like I was born there, and
Yeah.
followed them, and yeah, I just identify with Reading my whole life. You know, it's wherever I've been. It's my go-to. It's my home place, even though I wasn't there that long. You know, it's kind of like it's kind of my escape, and it's my thing. I love it. You know, I love whatever. You know, and Jesus, even when we've been really bad. So this isn't that bad. You know, we're still in the championship, Joe.
Yeah, it could be a lot lot
it could be a lot worse.
It could be Wigan. So
yeah, well, we nearly are. I think at some stages, with what you hear. But I looking at, you know, when I said I come, you know, 8 years ago when I came, you know, everyone, when John Majewski was in charge, and that Reading way that was talked about, that since then, since the last 7 or 8 years, we had that first season under Nigel Adkins, who I thought was a very good manager, where we got just missed the playoffs, I think, in the last day. And we got that one good season with Stam, where we got to the playoff final. I mean, we had a couple of cup runs, but the rest of it has been, you know, bottom 6, bottom 8, chopping and changing constantly with players, management. It's just like it's something like calling up in the air and hoping for the best.
I want to get your opinion on this. Okay, so since John Majewski had to leave because he was losing so much money a year and year, and after what he did for us, we've had the Russian, we've had the Thais, we've got Mr. Dye and the sister, Mrs. Dye. I can't pronounce their last name. I'm not even going to try. We've had them. We've also had, I think it's like 8 or 9 managers in the past 8 or 9 years, swapping and changing. The question that I think we brought up as well is that everyone's probably seen my rant about Reading fans in the past. There seems to be a lot of negativity going around, either inside or outside of the club. I'm trying to put my finger on what started the negativity that's been surrounding the club. Do you have any theories about, is it 2 fans being too ambitious? Is it people not having, I know from when I was younger, people's longevity was because people have patience. Does that mean these days people's patience are a lot thinner than they were before? What do you think the theory is behind why? I know we'll talk about what Mr. Dye is trying to do, but what I want to get your opinion on. What do you think about what's everything else?
I think, like, you know, yeah, like, you know, the Reading way's gone. Everyone knows that. You know, now it's been allowed to happen. The whole financial fair play seems to be a bit, you know, people are finding their way around it. You hear that the club, you know, the owners now pretty much own everything. Which, again, I don't know. You know, I don't know. I don't have any inside people. I don't know. But from a fan's point of view, I think I enjoyed us being a top championship side. You know, when we'll be close to the playoffs each season, or in the top. You know, and then we got up. But since it's like it is throwing money at a wall and hoping for the best. It seems like with the playing side of things. You know, and you see Stan came in, you know, using him as an example because the season was successful. He got us playing a certain way. That was good. It wasn't maybe what fans wanted all the time. We had some horrendous results, but it worked. Then it didn't work because he didn't seem to have a plan B or change the way that he would do things when it clearly wasn't working to us fans' point of view. But then at the same time, you know, the academy, where you've seen obviously a number of young players that have moved from around that time. Stacey and what's his name?
Fosu, Tarek
Yeah,
Fosu.
and a few others that have gone, moved on, like Rob Dickey at Oxford seems to be very highly rated. Something seems to have changed. Eamon Dolan was an absolute legend, and what he did with the club with that academy, and those youngsters, where we had that, and we've still got now. There's some good young players in the squad, but I don't know. It doesn't seem, to me, from the team point of view, that we haven't had that passion as players, as a playing group. It doesn't, we just seem to cave in very easily.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem to be, and I hate to use because it's not my mental strength, because I hate found that as a team and the football pitch, the strength to come back when we're struggling. And I don't know if it's a team mentality or individuals, or God knows what goes on behind the scenes at any football club. With regards to individuals and players and group and cliques and all that stuff, I don't know, and I wouldn't even guess. But from what we see with Bowen, and I again, like everyone, I was very skeptical of what he did, but what he came in and made us organised, and I think that's the one thing that we've been lacking for a long time is proper organisation. He made us harder to beat and made a system work and have, to a point, defensively anyway. But then it's clearly lacking last year that we didn't have any width as wingmen. The old-fashioned Reading way, the 4-4-2. It's not that anymore. Football's changed, and I know that's people can shoot me for that. But when you needed different, it's plan A and a plan B and a plan C. It didn't seem to be like even Bowen wanted to change from, okay, well, if it take off Puskas at 60 minutes, Rajal was injured, and you bring Baldock on, almost like on the clock.
Yeah.
It becomes a bit predictable. And Reading became, we had Gunter and McCleary who were good players, but people get used to. I imagine people get used to playing against certain players. I'm using the example because they've been in the club for a long time, and they go down as very well respected players. But if you're playing against Chris Gunter, right back 8 seasons in the Championship, you know what you're going to get playing against him. Any player, I'm not using any club, any team. So I don't know. It's so hard to you look at, okay, last season when he went, it didn't look like we were going to have a new lot of players before the transfer window, and then all of a sudden something changed financially again. Like it seems to change this last week.
So apparently, according for the past week, the EFL are going to announce, or may not announce, but have told clubs that financial fair play is frozen for this season due to COVID. They're letting owners use their own money to spend what they can to get the clubs back, or use what they can without the restrictions of financial fair play to do what they can. I presume that's what's triggered the owner of now doing what he wants to do, because he must have got word that they're doing it now. So in the past week, we've gone Hal, that's gone, not left, but he has no control whatsoever. He's now gone to vice chairman, where he will just sit in the boardroom, I presume, and not doing anything. We now got the current manager, who was the former director of football, going back to director of football, who's going to have complete control over transfers with the new manager, will have complete control over the money. The new guy that's come in to take over from Hal is Dai, that's worked at the Belgium club before. Dae Young Pang, I think his name was. I could get that name right. Yeah, so he's coming. And then we've got a manager coming in who's never managed in the Championship before. He's only ever managed in the MLS for Chicago Fire. And a lot of their fans were unhappy with him. But what is your thinking of what's gone on for the past 4 days?
I think, again, people talking about, if they've got money to burn, which people seem to think, you go out and buy players and whatever. That didn't really, they did that last summer, and they went and bought, and it was okay, and we should have done better, probably, the top half. and you can go and buy players again. And you say you've got a manager, if it's this guy, and this is at Thursday at 10 a.m., this possible service manager coming in, but by tomorrow it might change, who knows. But
just want to give you a little bit of breaking news that I have just found. Just as you're talking, according to Eddie RFC7, I always give you a shout out, and one day I'm getting you on. He understands that Ovi Jaria is signing permanently for Reading this morning, Thursday morning, and he will be signing a 4-year contract.
Yeah, there you go.
So I think that's the start of the money.
yeah, definitely. I like, and that's great. Like, but to me, like, he's a great, talented player. But one thing I think you need as a player with this is someone in midfield who put, I don't know, not the other one,
Danny Williams.
Something like, not Parky, the players, football's moved on.
I know who you mean.
Somebody as a ball winner that riles up, gets put challenges in.
Did you watch the Gillingham pre-season friendly game?
No.
So I watched bits of that, and Josh Laurent was starting and playing majority of it. And I have to tell you, he reminds me of a Danny Williams. He doesn't stop running. He very command. You know when you have one of those players that's very commanding, like give me the ball and I will do something with it. He was very much right. Give me the ball, and then every pass he was doing was positive. And the way that he plays, he seems like a player that when on a Saturday or Tuesday night, Wednesday night, whenever we go and watch, he's one of those players, when he gets on the ball, you instead of sitting there like that in the game when you're doing it, you go, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Gets you on the edge of your seat.
That's what you want. I think, again, like, we've all, not longer, we've not been the greats. All I want, I think anyone want, is players that go out there and put 100% effort. You're not going to win every game, apart from 2005. But you want people that are going to play for the club and the team and fans and each other and put the effort in there. And I think that's where we were so successful, because every player played for each other. They may be very different personalities on the team, but they put a shift in and they worked. And under McDermott, it was the same. They worked for each other. They may not, as a skill, talent-wise, may not be the best, but as a unit, they worked. And that's where we need to get back to, is having a unit that works. We've had so many goalkeepers now that have been player of the season this last number of years. It's kind of shows where it's been. And I think we've got the spine of a good, to me, unless they want me to come out of retirement as sub-goalie. But as a spine of a team, that's always where it's been in football. We've got a great keeper. We've got solid central defenders. If Lauren could come and be that midfielder alongside Swift, El Jara, and you've got the potential with the strikers. Obviously, a bit more depth. I think we need, obviously, the 4 or 5 more players, the first team players. It's a shame to see, the Guns and McCleary, Jordan Obita move on. But that's football, that's choice, isn't it? People have our different opinions on players we like, don't like to see.
So I just want to go back on what you just said for player of the seasons, right? I've just Googled it. Since the 2014-15 season, Adam Federici won it. And then Al Habsi then won it back-to-back, 15 and then 2016. Liam Moore won it in 2017. Reno won it in 2018. And Raphael won it last season. So I don't know whether you think the same thing, but the sort of the common question that we have on here is what we ask the majority of the guests, and I want to ask you the question, and I want to see what your answers are compared to what the other guests we've had on the podcast as well. Is we ask them certain questions about what they think about the upcoming season and what's going on. I'm just going to try and find the question while I talk as well at the same time. So basically, what it is the normal questions we ask. Here we go. No, that's not it. Where is that? Here we go. The normal questions we ask is where do you think Reading will finish this season? If you had to put...
We can talk about mental health again. It's a lot easier.
If you had to put money on right now, before we make signings, before anything happens, where do you think we will finish?
I would like to see us finish top 10 and be stable and consistent as a team. That's all I think. You want and to see development. And I think that's where at the end of last season with Bowen, you could see that. You know, we were coming through mid-table. Yeah, we didn't. You know, after the shutdown, you didn't do as well. But he changed the mentality under Gomez. You know, I think after that the Fulham game, you know, when we did the walk and they came back and watched that, and it was woeful, the 4-1. And Bowen's put some toughness in. I'm not quite whether people say whether he's the best man for the job or not, but what he did have an impact, and he changed what we were doing positively. You know, people are going, did the person's going to Premier League? I don't, you know, getting in Premier League to me is like, well, not even, let's look about getting 10th.
Yeah.
Becoming what we used to be, which is a top 10 team. So to do that, we need to get the right players and the right mix and the right manager. So I you know, as it stands, I would stick my head on the line and go sort of 10th, 11th.
Perfect.
Realistic.
Right. So I'm going to do a quick fire round. Okay. I'm going to do a quick fire round for you, and I want, without you thinking, just say it. Okay.
I never.
All right. We're going to try and do this quick. Right. So, who was your favourite player? Who was your all-time favourite Reading player?
Oh, mate, I'd have to say only because Darren Caskey.
There we go.
I actually love watching Caskey play.
I remember him as well. I think he was played at Medeski, didn't he, as well? Because I started watching.
Like, it wasn't just as to watching a team that was struggling and hearing him.
Okay, so here we go. Another question. Who was your least favourite player you've seen in a Reading shirt?
God, how many hours have you got? I think, like, again, I don't, you know, you start players that never, like, I remember we got signed a guy called Sean Evers back in the old days that was going to be the next big thing, and he just didn't work. And now we've had so many players, like, you know, Royston Drenthe came in. This guy's on big money.
I still don't get how we got him. That signing baffles me.
Anyone that just, you know, doesn't want to be there or an attitude. Danny Guthrie was another one that kind of reminded me of that.
Do you know what? I loved him. There's a lady that I used to go to football with, Cheryl. Everyone knows Cheryl on Twitter. Yeah. She used to sit in a row in front of me, and I was in love with Danny Guthrie. Not because he was good, just because I loved him. He was awful. Yeah. He got worse, but then we made up a dance. I'm not doing the dance, but we made up a dance about him, and it was pretty good. Who's the best manager? I know Coppell's going to be, or probably the one that you go, but if you had another one with Coppell, who was your favourite manager you've seen at Reading?
I see McDermott, I think, for what he did. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously predictable, isn't it, to pick them out. I think Adkins was very underrated. You know, he came in at a really difficult time, and I think if he was given, you know, the opportunities that, you know, no one gets time anymore as managers, do they? Like, you know, the days of Ferguson being in charge, years, even 2 years for some of the managers, the turnover rate is incredible. So these guys are under so much pressure. Again, we talked about mental health earlier. You know, these owners want instant fix and instant reward, and you can't do stuff overnight. You know, that's
okay. So I want to say another thing about Nigel Atkins was I tweeted him this morning, saying I would love you to come on the Gobcast podcast, and he replied to me saying, "Thank you ever so much. You are on the list. I will be doing podcasts soon. You are on the list of groups to come. We may or may not do it, but I'll let you know in the future." But for him to even reply. Thank you for doing that. Worst manager, and you can't say Gomez because he's the most beautiful man known, most beautiful looking man ever.
I think the one in my time that was Terry the Taxi Bullivant back in the, you said before, back in the 90s.
Before me.
After Quinn and Gooding, and then Terry came in and we got relegated. It's the season before we moved to the Madstad. Mm-hmm. It was, we just fell apart. Just kind of, you know, the record now. He was hard going.
Okay, best transfer you've ever seen Reading make?
I will say this because I live here. It has to be Doyle and Long.
Yeah. Worst transfer. Let's flip it. The worst transfer you've ever seen.
How long have we got? Well, again, like, you know, geez, like, it depends on, you know, like. different eras, different times. And I
Yeah.
think that, you know, coming back to players that we've signed recent times, I'll probably forget half of them. Like, you know, we got Pogrebeniak in the Premier League, and he did all right. He wasn't
Beautiful
worse. He
Russian.
wasn't worse player.
He
Yeah.
was a beautiful Russian.
Drenthe, I don't know, you know, some of the players, the wages they're on, you get what you deserve sometimes, don't you?
Have you heard the story about Pogrebeniak after he left Reading? So he signed for a Russian, I think it's first team or second team, second division, I can't remember. But he went back to Russia, and he told the physio he was sick. He didn't feel well. Couldn't do it. But he flew to Italy to go and watch AC Milan. It was AC Milan or Inter Milan or Juventus. It was an Italian Champions League night. And he flew all the way in a private jet. He got himself. He already had a private jet. Went to go and watch the Champions League. He nearly got away with it until they showed him on the camera on the television, and the manager was watching the game and went,
"That's brilliant."
The
classic one we had, I was going back. We had in the old days. I don't know if this is ever true. There's a guy called Boris Mihailov, Wiggy, as he was known, as a Bulgarian goalkeeper we signed in the mid-90s, and apparently we signed him because he saw us playing at Wembley in the playoff final, and I think he thought that was our home ground. And then he turned up at Elm Park.
That's brilliant.
And that was that, like, you know. Not sure it's true, but it's funny.
Okay, so these are the two parts question that we're going to do, the quick fire.
Okay.
What do you think will happen in this transfer window? As in, what do you think the club would do, and who would you like for us to sign?
Jeez. I think they're obviously going to get players in. They're going to get players and other, you know, who's realistic.
Let's not talk about realistic. Messi's available. Messi's available on a free.
No, I wouldn't sign him.
So
it doesn't fit in with our style. Logically, I'd like to see the lad from Peterborough, the ex-Peterborough lads. Is it Madison?
Oh yeah, Marcus Madison.
Just because he's available and he seems to be someone that's got something about him. You know, if they get that lad Dicky back, maybe from Oxford, again, guys that you identify with. I think it has to be, and we need wingers. You know, I don't know who's out there. Like Usain Bolt, maybe on a free when he gets over his virus. I don't know.
Yeah, after he gets over his quarantine that he thinks he's got. But okay then. So we'll go with that. Who do you think will be the biggest influence this season, player-wise?
Well, I was going. I think, you know, I love him because he reminds me of Shane Long, his mate. I love him. He gets his critics, but without his goals, you know, and he puts the effort in. Again, you can question how quality a player is, but he scores goals. But he puts the effort in, and that's again all you want from him. I like something like him. I like to see, obviously, Pasca's come good. Mm-hmm. But I think Tom Young McIntyre's quality. Mm-hmm. You know, I think he's going to be coming through. You know, the good positive thing. We have still got these young academy players coming through. And I think that's a frustrating thing when you see the academy players that have come in and done a job, and then it's like, well, why are we going back to signing not journeyman players, but players on big wages that aren't any better than what we've got in the academy? Play them. We're not exactly top of the league without them, you know.
Okay, so who do you think will go missing?
That's a harsh one.
It is. It is a harsh one.
I can't. I really couldn't say. I character of players. I think there's a team we need to stand up and have players as a unit stand up and have character that will do it. No one go missing. Hopefully, you know. John Majewski might go missing from the bar occasionally, but that's.
I very highly doubt that. But no, okay. So the other questions I have for you as well is, you've been a Reading fan, probably your whole entire life.
Yeah. That's why I've got no hair.
Yeah. That's why I'm wearing a hat, because mine's going. So, but my question is for you: is if you could sit down with the owners, I'm not going to lie, I haven't thought of the question. I'm literally just spouting whatever comes out of my mouth now. Is if you could sit down with the owners now and you had 30 seconds, what would you say to them?
I missed the end of that then, mate. It just broke up a bit.
Yeah, no. So if you could sit down with the owners for 30 seconds, what would you say to them? You had 30 seconds and they went ready, steady, go. And then you had to get what you wanted to say to them. What would you say?
Calm down. Be realistic.
Mm-hmm.
We're here forever as fans. You might not be as owners. So be nice to us and think of the long term of the club. That's all to me. Like, you know, Reading is my club. You know, throwing money on it, owners come and go. You've seen it with Wigan. You know, that's what's happened there. The fans are being punished for that.
Mm-hmm.
The players to a point, you know, and that's where I heaven help that happens to Reading. You know, and I think sure we've been close to it on occasions with what's gone on financially. It's, you know, to me, it's the club. Like, to me, going back to what I said at the start, it's an amazing community of people, you know, and the tragedy that happened in the park, you know, how people pulled together over that. And just it's special. It's a club. It's something now, you know, live over here, and I love it. I love, you know, what it's about, and that identity, we can't lose that ever, and we still need to be a club, whatever the circumstances, what's going on with, you know, the virus and not having fans, and we need to be around because it's so important for people.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. That is absolutely perfect. We're going to have, I would love to have you on again in the future. Definitely have you on again. If you've got, whenever you're going to be doing the charity event next season for the walk, we would love to have you come on and talk a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, sure.
We would love to have you come on as well at the end of the season to discuss what you think about it. We're going to bring everyone back and maybe have a group call with all the guests we might have had and see what everyone thinks. But thank you ever so much for coming on.
My pleasure, Mark. Really,
but everyone that's listening, just a couple of housekeeping before you go is don't forget to like and subscribe. Please share this around. Don't forget there are people and charities out there that are here for you to help as well through your mental illness or there's anything going on in your life whatsoever. Don't forget that with the new logo and everything's coming out, Courtney will be back Monday, hopefully, where we will be getting into depth and I will be pushing him really hard to find out what actually is going on. If there's any news over the weekend, we will bring you straight away on the Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. We will be there straight away for you. Don't forget to go on Facebook. We're getting more and more people, but we have a little bit of fun on the Facebooks. So don't forget to come and join us on there as well. We are on all other different platforms as well. Podbean, Apple Music. Thank you ever so much for listening, for coming again. And Johnny, this has gone a million times better than I ever wanted it to. So, and you have been an absolute diamond. So thank you ever so much.
My pleasure to speak to you.
Right. And we will see you guys on Monday. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and bye.